My friend, if you're struggling finding, vetting, training, and managing virtual team members for your real estate business, I have the solution for you. Call Magicians is the premier virtual assistant company in the real estate industry. And basically, what they'll do is allow you to focus on closing more deals and doing the things you love while they handle the work for you. Head over to callmagicians.com and see if you're a good fit to work together. And make sure you use the promo code FLIPEMPIRE for a 20% discount off your startup fee. And by the way, the owner's a friend of mine and shares tons of value, gives a lot of useful tips on episode 540. So check it out at flipempire.com/540.
You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
I am back. I'm back. So this is Alex Pardo. I want to welcome you to the Flip Empire Show. And on episode 553 here, I want to just talk a little bit about last week. So I just got back from Jackson, Mississippi after successfully closing technically my second self-storage deal called American Mini Storage, again in Jackson. And I documented pretty much the entire week on my Instagram story and Facebook story. And I had a lot of people reaching out to me, just showing me their support, congratulating me. And it was a total team effort all the way around. So really what I want to do on episode 554, which is a masterclass, I'm going to tackle that one by myself. I had so many people reach out to me wanting to find out, hey, how'd you structure the deal? What'd you get into it for? What do the numbers look like? What's the net operating income? How's your cash flow going to be? What's kind of the plan with the facility? And so I want to dedicate that episode to just breaking down the whole thing from start to finish. How I found the deal. What were the key lessons learned? What were some of the challenges, the highs, the lows? Because believe me, this deal came with several of them, and it was a process. I was first. My coach actually shared this deal with me in April of this year, and it wasn't until last week, September 8th, that we officially closed. So what happened during that time? There's so many things I took away from the experience and the journey, and that's really what it's all about. The destination is the goal, but you have to learn to enjoy the journey. You have to realize that it's a learning process. You're growing through the experience. And as I've said in the past, the journey is the destination. The destination, I find, is very short-lived at times. We set out this big goal. If you've read the 4 Disciplines of Execution, they talk about the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. And we get there, and then it feels good, but it's kind of like that new car smell. It's like you get a new car and you love it. It's awesome. It's got that new car smell. And then after a month, after 2 months, you kind of have the law of diminishing returns. And it doesn't mean you can't still enjoy it. I was able to buy a Tesla last year, and I love it. I still enjoy that car. But do I enjoy it the same I did the first and second week of owning it? Probably not. And I think that's just normal. So that's why I believe that the journey is the destination. And if you can learn to suck the marrow out of the journey, right? And really just enjoy the experience for what it is, the highs and the lows, and understanding that it's who you're becoming in the process. It's the growing pains, the lessons learned, all that, the people that you get in contact with. And that's one of the things I want to really highlight on today's show, is that when I look back at this journey in self-storage, from transitioning and exiting out of my wholesaling operation after doing that for 15 years and having a successful business, being surrounded by an incredible group of people that made that possible, and also experiencing a lot of challenges within that business, which I've been very transparent about here on the Flip Empire Show. But when I think about making that decision, that being such a long time coming, in fact, it just marked the 2-year anniversary. September of 2019 is when I got up in front of a group of 30 or 40 of some of the most successful real estate investors and entrepreneurs in the country, and I first publicly kind of revealed that, hey, I don't think this business is for me anymore. And kind of dealing with a little bit of the imposter syndrome. And what are people going to think? What are people going to say? So it was 2 years ago, almost to the day, that I first revealed that. And I got so much support from the community and so many people that told me, man, I feel your pain. I know what you're going through. I'm in the same boat, but I can't do this. I have too much invested into the business. What will people say, think? What will I do? And I remember wrestling with that. And even prior to September 2019, I had been just feeling like, I don't think this business is aligned with my long-term vision anymore. I'm not getting as much joy and fulfillment out of this business. And it's a cash cow, and it's provided for my family and allowed us to live a certain lifestyle. But if I'm still doing this 12, 24, 36 months from now, how will I feel? Will I be satisfied? Will I be happy? And the answer was no, no, no. And that's when I started to figure out an exit strategy. And it took about 6 months to finally get to the point where I had a conversation with my team and said, this is what's on my heart. This is what I'm feeling. I want to make sure you're in a good place moving forward. And so let's start to work towards an exit. And then officially it was, I believe it was May of last year, May of 2020, that we officially kind of, that I exited that business. And I had a transition plan with just a really, really close friend of mine and my COO, my right hand, in Adrian. We worked out a transition, and yeah, so basically through June of 2020 through November, I kind of just, I don't want to say semi-retired, because I certainly didn't see myself as retired, but I took a little bit of a hiatus from real estate, and I still had some rentals and I still do some lending. And obviously the focus was on this podcast. The focus was on continuing to pour into our community of Ascend, and just continue to build those relationships and pour into those people's lives. And I was just hanging out. It was kind of easy street from June of 2020 through November. And one of the pieces of advice that my coach gave me was, Alex, don't feel so compelled to jump into the next business and climb the next mountain, get to the peak and try to conquer that. Take some time to just enjoy the fruits of your labor. Take some time to reflect. Take some time to just be, be in prayer. Just journal your thoughts, and it will come to you what's next. And I'm so glad he gave me that piece of advice, because I remember feeling that itch to like, okay, what's next? What am I going to do? I remember right around the time of the pandemic, I got pretty heavy into sports cards. And at the time I was like, all right, well, maybe I start a sports cards business. And I'm glad I didn't do that, because I realized that wasn't for me, right? It was just more of a hobby, more of me kind of digging up my childhood. But yeah, he told me, he said, don't be so anxious to rush into the next business. When the timing is right, you'll know the timing is right. And he was spot on, because I remember October, November, I had always been interested in self-storage. I had talked to the right people. A good friend of mine, Mike Wagner, who runs a Storage Rebellion community. I had conversations with him. Even a year prior, we were in Guatemala at Steve Kavanaugh's Master Mission. And I was very curious about self-storage because it felt like a business that didn't require a ton of overhead, didn't require a big team. I love all the benefits of that particular commercial asset class. No toilets, lower operating expenses. It's historically speaking, it's a niche that does very, very well in a recession and a down market. It also does very, very well in a booming market. And I was just, again, I remember in 2019 being very, very interested in self-storage, but I think it's important that you stabilize before you disrupt. And what I mean by that is I wasn't in the right place mentally. I didn't have the bandwidth to pursue another business, right? I was knee deep in my wholesaling operation. Steve and I in 2019 had just launched Ascend, and that was a big focus. It still is a huge focus of ours and a big priority. I mean, that's where I get so much joy and fulfillment out of that community and out of the people that I have the opportunity to work with. And I just get fed so much from that. So it just wasn't the right timing. I have so many people reaching out to me, asking me about self-storage, and I'm so happy to kind of share my journey and walk them through, my process. Not that that's the right way to do it. There's many different ways to get to where you want to go. But I find that for some people, it's just not the right timing. They haven't stabilized what they currently have, what's currently feeding them and putting food on the table. before getting into something else. And then for others, it's, hey, I feel like it's time to burn the ships and just, transition into this full time. And I'm happy to have conversations like that with people, particularly in our Ascend community. And there's been several of those conversations happening even to this day. So I remember October, November, feeling that urge, feeling that itch, like, hey, it's time. It's time. Like I'm ready to tackle this. I'm ready to get into a new asset class. It's something that excited me. It's something that was very, very aligned with my short-term, midterm, long-term goals, which tied into my big picture vision. It's something that is a wealth builder, provides cash flow, doesn't require a big team or a lot of overhead. And so I put my money where my mouth is. And like I've talked so much on this podcast about, is what's the first thing I did is when I decided, let's dive into this. I don't want to dip my toes into self-storage. I want to fully immerse myself. So I joined the mastermind. I hired a coach, and I made a large investment in myself because I was fully committed to it. I'm the type of person, I've shared this on other podcasts that I've had the privilege of being interviewed on, is I've always been kind of a ready, fire, aim type of dude. And most of the time that's worked out well. There's been a few times where, I wish I could take a mulligan, and I've learned from those experiences, right? But I fully immersed myself into this journey. However, I made one critical mistake early on in December, January, is I was in the process of tying up some loose ends, and it was the holidays. We were still doing some traveling. So December, January, while I made a large investment in myself, I did something I don't normally do, is I didn't dive full in as far as like taking action, as far as marketing, as far as getting on the phones. I kind of spent December and January more like in chill education mode. And I know better than that, because I know that the activity, the results I was seeking wasn't going to come from the education. The education is important, but you're going to gain more education by doing than by sitting behind an iPhone or a PC or a Mac, consuming information, watching videos, reading things, engaging in forums. That activity is important, and it should be part of the foundation, but it shouldn't be the 80. It should be the 20. Doing should be the 80, in my opinion. And really in December, January, I spent more of the 80 in consuming versus doing. And then I remember February, we had our Ascend mastermind retreat, and it was like end of February. And somebody asked me, one of my own coaching clients asked me, hey, how's it going for you in storage? And I remember feeling humbled that obviously I wasn't going to BS him. I wasn't going to lie. I'm always going to like speak my truth. And I was humbled by the fact that I couldn't share a success. And it's interesting because they hire Steve and I, and they join this community, not just to surround yourself with just incredible entrepreneurs and people that are going to walk alongside them, but accountability is a big part of it. And here he didn't realize it, holding me accountable by asking me, hey, how's it going in your storage journey? Do you have any deals yet? What's the deal? Like, talk to me about the activity. What have been the results so far? And I felt really humbled in saying, dude, the truth is I don't have any results to show for it yet. And here's why. And instantly in that moment, I said, all right, I'm going to finish this retreat. When I get back home, I'm going all in. I'm doing this thing. So it wasn't until the beginning of March where it kicked into overdrive for me, where I'm like, that's it. Like, I've made a large investment in myself. I've been in consumption and education mode for the last 60 days. And yeah, there was a little bit of a reason for that, right? But still, like, no excuses. Like, I know exactly why I don't have the results I want. And it's because I haven't been putting in the work. So I want you to think about this, and I want you to ask yourself, what is it that you want out of your life and business? And then ask yourself one simple question. Have you put in the work? It's binary. It's yes or no. It's black and white. It's very simple to answer if you're being honest with yourself. And at that time, I told myself, I was like, I haven't put in the work. I violated like one of my own rules. I kind of, to a certain degree, I almost felt like a hypocrite. And I told this person, I said, man, I appreciate you asking me this, because that was the kick in the pants I needed to get going. And not that I needed that, but I was grateful for the accountability I got, even though he didn't even know he was providing that. He just genuinely wanted to know, like, hey, what are your results? And I felt very just humbled by the fact that, like, dude, when I got into storage, I'm like, I'm going to crush this. Like, I'm going to smash it. Like, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the kind of, and if you know me, you know that doesn't come from like an arrogant or a cocky place. It just came from a place of like supreme confidence. Like, I've been in real estate a long, long time. I knew there was going to be challenges along the way, because there's always challenges, but like, I had no doubt that I was going to succeed in this business. It wasn't if, it was a when. In fact, that's something that I've had conversations with my storage coach and Mike Wagner and some others in the community about, is like, this is going to pop for me. It's not if, it's when. But at that time, it was going to be an if, had I not done the work that I then started doing in March. So in March, I started to put together, sending out direct mail. I started to interview virtual assistants, because the process of doing direct mail myself was, it took me back to 2005, 2006 when I got in real estate, and I'm like, yeah, this is not the way to go. I need to hire someone. I need to outsource this. So I quickly found the right virtual assistant. I put a system in place to go out. I identified the markets that I wanted to be in, the states that I wanted to be in, primarily in the Southeast, the Carolinas of the world, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, all those different markets, right? Florida and Louisiana. And so I got just crystal clear on what I wanted. And I remember having a conversation with my coach, and he goes, what do you want right now? He goes, do you want cash flow or do you want upside? And I said, I want both. But if I had to prioritize those, I want cash flow first. I got into real estate for cash flow and to build wealth. And yet I found myself for 15, 16 years running up, wholesaling properties, which doesn't really provide cash flow. It's a transactional business. And yeah, you get cash by doing, and rinse and repeat. And that's not what I wanted anymore. And so I said, I want cash flow. And the fact that I was crystal clear with him about what a deal looked like for me, what I wanted, when it came across his desk and he decided not to pursue it because he had his hands full with some of his other deals, I got a crack at it. And I was able to execute on that because I knew exactly what a deal looked like for me. In fact, I had a coaching call yesterday with one of our Ascend members, who just incredible people, very, very successful investors. They have a single family business. They have a mobile home park business. They have a self-storage facility. They just do very, very well. And they do well because they've put in the work, right? And you're noticing a theme here. They had a clear vision for what they wanted their life to look like. And then they went about the business of going out and making it happen. I take zero credit for the success. Their success is because they put in the work and they were willing to be held accountable. And I've just been a small part of their journey, walking alongside them. But we were talking about this very thing. They were talking about making some different investments in a business outside of what they're used to. And I asked them, what's your investment criteria look like? What do you look for in an investment? What's your buy box, so to speak? And that's one of the things that I was helping them with, is you got to get clarity. Clarity can lead to freedom, right? Without clarity, you're just kind of like, you're like, as weird as this analogy might be, like you're like a leaf in a windy city. It's going to take it where it's going to go, kind of thing. So clarity can lead to freedom. In fact, clarity does lead to freedom. And I want you to write that down. I want you to really think about that, ponder on that very thought. Clarity leads to freedom. And for me, I only got this deal because I made an investment in myself. He saw that I then started to put in the work, and I was clear about what a deal looked like for me and what I was after. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I want you to make sure to tune in to episode 554, because I'm going to break down this deal. I'm going to break down again, from the moment it was presented to me to the moment I close. I'm going to break this whole thing down, how I structured the deal, how, by the way, this thing on a bad day is going to have a net operating income. If we did nothing else but just continue to operate it the same way it was operated, it's going to, my apologies. I just got a new MacBook Pro and I got to turn off the computer notifications, but I'm going to break down how I have no money into this deal and how this thing is gonna net operating income on a bad day should be about $100,000 after debt service. I don't have a penny into my own money into this deal, and I want to go ahead and just share everything, lessons learned, what I would have done different, how I incurred attorney expenses of $15,000 that didn't need to be had. And it could have just been handled very differently. And what happened the day before closing? I land in Jackson, Mississippi. I check my phone and I read an email from the lender, from the bank, saying, "Hey, we got a big problem. This closing is in jeopardy. Call me." So I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to break it all down on episode 554. So appreciate the encouragement, the support, you following along in my journey. I'm going to continue to document that here on the Flip Empire Show and on my social media. So make sure we're connected there. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. My apologies. My phone is blowing up right now. But I'm going to wrap this one up, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next show. Take care, my friend.